Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Rhyno's Regulars. We're going to be talking about a few different things that are happening in the reptile community, whether they're local or maybe just to do with us, a little bit of updates here and there. But largely it's going to be talking about the reptile community as a whole. But before we get started, I wanted to talk about a couple things in our hemisphere. We just had our most recent show and it went really good. Not even just from a monetary standpoint, which we did pretty good, but just it was so much fun. Sometimes I hear people say that they don't want to talk to kids or see kids. That's, they're just window shopping and then they treat shows like a zoo. I'm cool with it. I want to be an educator as much as I want to be a snake breeder. To me, education is just about as important as the monetary selling of my ball pythons. They kind of go hand in hand. If I sell something to people without educating them, without fostering that growth in young children, then what am I doing? I'm not planting any future love for this hobby. I can't tell you how exciting it was. And I guess I kind of knew that I would enjoy seeing people hold snakes for the first time, but to have that honor, to break that stereotype in people's brains, or to give them their first experience with a reptile. I didn't expect it to be so profound. So thank you to everyone that came out and brought their families, because it was awesome. It's so cool, especially even with adults. I had big, strong men who had never held a snake before and were like, no, that's the one thing I'm not doing. And then they did. And that's the first step. Just kind of eliminate that fear, that misfounded fear of snakes. We are going to be back for the Halloween weekend show. That is going to be taking place on the 29th and the 30th, a Saturday and a Sunday, right before Halloween. It's going to be Halloween themed. It's going to be really cool. Come see us for that weekend on one of those days, whether you're buying something or not. I promise you, it's going to break your conception of what these animals are, and that you are going to have a fun time. I wanted to start off by revisiting an old topic, and that would be U.S. ARC, but specifically in Florida. Since the last time we talked about the Lacey Act amendments, those have been struck down. They were taken out of the America Competes Act bill. That's no longer an issue, at least for this particular time. It will be revisited again. Mark my words that they will try again. With that being said, still celebrate the win, but let's not forget about the fact that on a state-by-state level, we still face a lot of issues. And in that, Florida is probably facing some of the more tough ones right now. The Fish and Wildlife Commission in Florida, otherwise known as the FWC, has unfortunately become a sort of governing body that answers to no one, really. They don't really have any oversight. They make their own rules up. There's nobody who gets really any say. They have hearings, and then they don't listen to anything said. They're not willing to compromise ever. Basically, last time we said that they were creating unrestricted lists, all sorts of different lists, and they were calling them all sorts of different names, and they get mad when people call them by what they really are. And that would be black lists and white lists. What they're doing is they're creating lists of animals that are approved and everything else is banned, essentially, which is exactly what the Lacey Act was doing. These rules are still being voted on. A lot of them have already been voted on, never going in a reptile keeper's favor. Now, at the heart of it, they'll tell you this is to prevent poaching and to protect their natural wildlife, and there certainly is a lot of truth to that, I'm sure, but they go pretty overboard with it. About a month ago, US ARC Florida posted that if you're exhibiting animals at any of your public events, you should expect that FWC law enforcement, both uniformed and undercover, are going to be policing these events. They are just going to walk right up to you and demand to see your license, permits, paperwork, sources for all the animals, including the hatch dates if you bred them, receipts with license numbers for sources. Any non-native species coming from out of the state require an import permit. A visitor from out of state was even issued a violation for not having a critical incident disaster plan. There's a lot of interpretations of these laws. They just say what they want, and then they're just going to allow the officers to interpret it however they please. So they can just change the rules on you, even though you think you know them. Any warning is even considered a violation, and a single violation can be used as cause to revoke any of your licenses, which can lead you to have to forfeit your animals. Basically, they can seize your animals and often euthanize them as well. So, I mean, in my opinion, this is just kidnapping and murder. Now, I get that there are a lot of bad actors out there, some poachers and people who are smuggling in animals. The solution shouldn't be to hurt the good guys as well. If the solution includes collateral damage, the solution is broken. They're even issuing violations for what they call public display of animals at the shows because they're allowing people to handle them. Within the last 2 weeks, they've even made comments and statements that they believe that legitimate turtle breeders are equivalent to that of poachers and smugglers. I can't even fathom why that needed to be said. It just seems like a bunch of traps. No clear, spelt out rules. The rules themselves are pretty draconian to begin with. They just don't seem to care, which is really sad because I think that the FWC could be a force of good and change. I think that it should work with the animal community. It shouldn't make them feel fearful of them. On to a couple good news things. I wanted to call out the latest Hetflix episode from Kinova where they show off the Wookie coral gull clowns. So the first one he's got here is the Wookie red stripe yellow belly coral gull clown. And this one has a lot of neons in it. It is really stunning. It's just another really good example of what all of this can do. But the one that I think is out of this world would be its sibling with the black pastel. That gray background is just so cool. And here you can even see the visual clown versus the het clown. So the black pastel Wookie leopard coral glow het clown next to the black pastel Wookie coral glow clown. I think they're both really cool. I've always talked about contrast, and I'll always talk about contrast and how I love it, but this is a different way to do it. With black pastel, I think there's so much potential. I think that everyone should have a black pastel at this point that they can work into things, because it adds another layer to what you can do. It's not just black and white or anything like that. You've got a gray kind of now. Yes, black pastel is a dark morph, but this has a lavender type gray one, especially whenever it's combined with banana. Black pastel banana is just insane to me, and this snake right here is just absolutely awesome. That nice gray with the absolutely bright oranges. The contrast is outstanding. And then finally on Dave Kaufman's channel, he actually shows off JSA Reptiles facility a bit, including a most recent clutch of theirs, which they're gonna have at Tinley, hint hint. And the final snake in this is insane. So a lot of people already know about the Pompeii, which was created by Justin Kabelka. In the Pompeii, it is 5 genes basically. 1 recessive, which is clown. The other ones are spot nose, red stripe, yellow belly, and black pastel. That's how you get your Pompeii, and it really just put a big spin on clowns and changed a lot. It really got a lot of people talking about those 4 genes. Another step up, and a world first that Dave Kaufman put on his channel, would be the Pompeii Special. This is kind of just the best of both worlds because Special is an enhancer gene. It lightens it up, which you might not think you'd want in something that I think is a little bit stronger as a darker gene, but it lightens it up where it needs to be lightened up. And instead what you've got are these nice bright yellows and a slightly more brighter version of the Pompeii that just really pops. The rustic oranges really pop out from what I believe would be the influence of the red stripe a lot more, I think, in this one because of that. And the yellows just go really well with them. So I've always really liked this just because it blows up the pattern so crazily and just puts it on there though. Looks like little hieroglyphs. Go by JSA's table if you're at Tinley and check this snake out. If you like this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It really helps us out. We really want to just become more than bull python breeders. I want to become an educator as well. If you like this particular video, you can actually check out our last Tinley video to get kind of a sneak peek of what's going to happen next week right here.